I just want to start off this video by thanking everyone who has come here from my last review. I'm a really small YouTube channel, and my Brahma Yugam review is my biggest by far. I got quite a bit of love on YouTube. So if you had a hand in that, you have my sincerest thanks and love. Like, seriously, you guys are the best. Especially since I know it can be frustrating seeing someone who is not an expert in something you're passionate about discussing it online. But it has kicked me off diving like a little bit deeper into Malayalam cinema and going to the cinemas and embedding myself in the cinematic culture once again. So thank you for your kind words of encouragement and sharing your knowledge with me. I appreciate it. I'm learning. So once again, thank you. When I asked for recommendations on my Brahma Yugam review, about 80% of them were for the same film, right? The new Malayalam survival thriller Manjummel Boys. Now, I'm Australian, which means not only can I not speak Malayalam, but I can barely speak English. Like, listen to this. It's thick. It's thick. So, when talking about the actors and team behind this movie, I'm going to try my best with pronunciations, but you'll have to bear with me a bit. I'm sorry. Once again, I saw this movie at a late night screening in the cinemas near my house. When it came to time to book a ticket, like probably 3 or 4 days before, there was like 40 seats left out of 192 in the cinema. So like there's like 150 people that have bought tickets to this. This is for a 9:30 p.m. screening for like a 2.5 hour movie. It's wild to me. Fans of Malayalam cinema are getting behind this movie. And honestly, fuck yeah, guys! Like, because straight off the bat, this movie's great. Also, shout out to Georgie, who came up to me after this movie as he recognized me from the Brahma Yugam screening. Good to see you, dude. Hopefully I'll see you at the next one. Now, this movie is based on a true story, but I didn't do any research before going in because I wanted to be surprised. Like they said, this is marketed as a survival thriller, so I didn't really want to know what happened before I went in. And I'm glad I did, because this movie is... It's heart attack inducing. Like, all you people who recommended this to me, you monsters, this almost gave me a heart attack. And it's not because it's scary, but because writer-director Chidambaram makes you care about the characters so much that the stakes are so high. Like, when this movie started, I legitimately thought I was going in for a movie like The Hangover or The Inbetweeners. I'm telling ya, this friendship group, like the Manjummel Boys, they all have their own distinct personalities. They all have their own sense of humor and character flaws. And honestly, the lads are kind of menaces. Like, and I mean that in a fun way for the most part. And it does get them into trouble, obviously, but they do look like a good time. Like, I felt like I was a part of this group. The opening scene is one of my favorites. All the guys are at a wedding and they're partying way too hard. They're just being raucous. They're being way too loud. And they end up in like a testosterone-fueled tug-of-war competition. And, I mean, I've been to parties that have involved everyone moving from the dance floor to the footy field to prove a point. Like, I've been there. I've been a part of that. So... like, I felt this in my soul. Maybe I've got this group of friends. I don't know. But I felt this in my soul. Also, one of the lads, I think it's Sivan or Sixon, wears a Slipknot shirt and a Titanic shirt throughout the course of this movie. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, this guy, perfect encapsulation of the duality of man. Like, Slipknot and Titanic, I was like, that's my fucking guy. Like, that's my guy right there. This movie had our cinema like gasping, wincing, cheering, standing up and clapping. And that's what you want. That's what you want from a cinema experience. Like, it's so good. You are putting your faith in the film's team. So, like, in the hopes that they will draw involuntary reactions from you. And this movie does that. This movie does that really, really, really well. Welcome to SpookieKnights. Manjummel Boys follows a group of friends who decide to embark on a boys' trip from Cochin to Kodaikanal. They do the usual boys' trip shenanigans. There's a lot of drinking, getting high, eating, dancing, and of course, taking the absolute piss out of each other. These dudes banter, constant banter all the time. And one of the guys suggests that they check out a nearby cave where the famous film Guna was shot. And, the guys are, some of them are buzzed. They're having a good time. They sort of amp each other up a bit. So the group basically disobey pretty much every safety warning that could be put in place, that could have been given to them to explore this cave. And, I'm trying to keep this spoiler free. So, one of them pays dearly for the recklessness. And I'll leave it at that. If you have been following this channel for a while, you know that I hate caves. I hate them. I scuba dive with sharks. I have pet snakes. I've got large dogs. I rescue spiders. I do Muay Thai. I am not afraid of a lot of things that people are afraid of. I love bats. Caves, on the other hand, terrify me. I don't like being underground. I don't like the fact that there's a possibility you could get stuck or not find your way out. As far as I'm concerned, unless you're Bruce Wayne, stay the fuck out of caves. Now that PSA is over, this movie is heart-wrenching. It is heart-wrenching. There is a scene where a character falls in this movie, and it is probably the most brutal, falling scene I have ever witnessed. Every single member of the audience that I was in was gasping and wincing as it happened, and it went for so long. It felt like it went for an hour. And I think that scene is a large reason why my heart rate was so high during this movie. And this movie also, it flicks on a dime. It almost gave me cinematic whiplash. 1 minute I was laughing and I was having a great time, and then as quick as a key change, the score, emotions of the characters, and even the weather flipped on me, and it felt like I'd been pulled into a completely different movie. And I was like, oh, fuck, we're on here. This must be the thriller bit. That is how I felt. So big ups to Chidambaram, Shaiju, Khalid, Vivek Harshan, and Sushin, I think is the composer, for coming together. They all work together to orchestrate this complete cinematic needle drop. And the intermission dropped straight after that first, when everyone's looking at each other going, I can't believe that just happened. And it was awesome. It was it was like a record scratch. It was so good. The cinematography is beautiful even when the weather's not. There's not, brutal weather in this. There's brutal weather. But the cinema, you still want to visit the place. It's just stunning. Every single scene almost looks like a Microsoft wallpaper. The standard wallpapers where they show you, paradise on Earth. That's what it felt like. There are so many interesting overhead and underwater shots that make the most of every centimeter of the scenery. And I was honestly surprised at how much I cared about this group of friends. Because when you logically think about it, right? If I'm talking completely logically, I shouldn't care about them, right? They're a rowdy bunch of dudes. They get drunk, they get high, and they basically walk through a million red flags to do the thing that everyone has told them not to do. In my right mind, I should be saying, you idiots, I told you not to do that. Look what you've done, I told you so. That logically should be the feeling I'm getting. But I didn't feel that way. And I think it's because the director uses flashbacks to remind you why you should care about these people. Every flashback he's saying, hey man, look at this. Don't forget, these guys are lifelong friends. Look how loyal to each other they've been over the years. Look how much they show up for each other. I know they're kind of fuck-ups, but, they love each other. They're ride or dies. They're going to back each other. And it just makes you want everyone to be okay in this movie. Even after they've been reprimanded and every authority figure, including the cops and the forest guards, are saying, you idiots, you don't... the amount of times I was thinking when the cops when they had interactions with cops. I was like, yes, we know they've done wrong. Just help them. Just help them. And I don't think I would say that in other movies where characters do silly behavior like this, but they make you care about the characters. Friendship is like the main theme of this movie. It's about a ride or die group of friends. They refuse to take no for an answer when the safety of one of their own is on the line. And it works. There is so much humor and levity in this movie that it makes the thriller part that much more effective. Like, if this was all thriller, the movie probably wouldn't work because you'd be drawn out by the end of it. But the first half is so funny and everyone's laughing and it's a good time. And then it just changes and it makes the thriller part of this movie so much more effective. The movie felt long, and I don't mean that as a slight. Like, I mean that in a good way, because the reason it felt so long is because my heart was in my throat for like so much of the last half of the movie. When a rescue plan is made and starts getting executed, I was so invested that I was like, oh my God, can this please be over? Because like, I just want everyone to be, I just want to know what happens, you know, which is the sign of a good survival thriller. You know, like, you just want everyone to be okay. When the climax of the film occurred, the audience I was sitting in went ballistic. Like, I felt like I was at a footy. There could have been 10,000 people in my cinema. That's how loud it felt. Like, there was cheering and there was like, you know, it was just, it was so good. Soubin Shahir was phenomenal as like the older brother figure to the boys, Karan. And Sreenath Bhasi, who played Sabash, he's this really interesting character because it seems to take place in quite a religious or at least superstitious part of India, and he plays like this character who's an atheist. Like, someone's asking him how he feels about God, and you know, what is God to you? And he says, "Oh, God is light." And Sabash basically says, "It's dark." You know, like, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it kind of tells you everything. Like, he's quite a character that is, he seems logical. He seems like he doesn't, you know, he's a really straight-thinking character, and it's really interesting. Kudos to the art team as well that worked on the practical effects, because the injuries in this movie were wonderfully hard to look at. So, like, yes, there are some infuriating, silly character decisions. Like, I can't tell you how many times I said, dude, just take a few steps back from the edge. Like, please. But that's because our magnifying glass has been cast over a group of infuriatingly silly guys. Like, they're a bit childish. They're there for a good time. They don't take anything too seriously. As annoying as I might find that in other horror movies, like, I don't in this one. Like, I really just like these guys. I like these guys. This is almost the trope of kids on a bike getting up to mischief and trying to overcome evil. You know, like It and stuff. Except it's men in a van getting up to shenanigans and trying to overcome nature. That is like the trope in this movie. It's really interesting. It's really well done. I recommend watching this if you love survival thrillers, Alive, 127 Hours, The Revenant, that sort of thing. If you love humor in your thrillers, this is very, very funny. There is a scene where they basically they're trying to pick who gets to come and take the last seat on the bus on the footy trip or the boys trip. And it establishes all the character dynamics in one hit. Like, you know, what every character thinks of what every other character is. It's really good. If you love a party montage, this opens up with one of the best ones I've seen. It's at a wedding. It's fucking hilarious. It's good. The boys are getting down. It's great. I don't recommend watching this if you struggle to read subtitles or you want a straight-up horror film. This is like a survival thriller. It's not straight-up horror. This is a thriller. If you can't forgive infuriating character decisions, no matter how endearing the characters are, don't go into this one. This will just frustrate you. Malayalam cinema it's fucking firing on all cylinders at the moment. Between this and Brahma Yugam, I know there's apparently a comedy that's out. So, I mean, I'm a horror guy, so I won't cover it on this channel, but apparently it's killing it too. So, yeah, it's it's fucking great. I'm so stoked. I'm so stoked. I'm hoping some Western eyes get onto these films like this and Brahma Yugam for sure. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. If you like this movie, I highly recommend checking out. Like, if you like survival thrillers but prefer them leaning further towards the horror, Crawl is a good one, as is The Descent. If you're looking for terrifying, The Descent is straight up terrifying, but it's a somewhat similar premise. It's just way scarier. If you loved the humor of this one and were looking for a horror film that sort of recreated that funny, fun group banter dynamic, Cabin in the Woods is probably a good one. I know it's not the same premise, but the group dynamic is fun. Like, you love all the characters. They're very funny. It's a good time, and then it just turns into a horror. So that's another good one. The friendship dynamics in this are fucking great. If you have seen this, tell me what you thought. Was the audience you watched it with as involved as mine? I think I've got Rorschach, the new Malayalam movie Exit, and Bulbul, I think it's called, on my list. Also, I can't remember I think it's Butha Kalm or something. The first movie from the guy that did Brahma Yugam. That was like the second most requested. So I've chucked that on my watch list too. So I'll probably cover them at a later date. But I'm excited to get to them. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next week for another review. Peace.